My name is Swapnil Fadnis from Tenable. So today we are going to discuss on Tenable identity security solution, and we are going to explain you that how identity security solution is going to help you with exposure management platform. What all are benefits that you will get when you look at from Tenable identity security solution perspective? So I'll just like to introduce myself and my colleague Rohan. So both of us, we are going to run through this demo session today. I will run through some PPT slides and Rohan will help me to run through a demo session for Tenable identity exposure. Just the next slide. Yeah. So the basic of cyber risk is like we have two types of vulnerabilities which has been there on our systems. So most of the hacker would like to take advantage that whatever unpatched vulnerabilities which has been there on the system. So it could be your server, your workstation, database, application, anything. So they will try to take advantage whatever the unpatched vulnerabilities which has been there on your premises. At the same time, they will try to take a control of all the misconfigurations which has been there. This is how most of all the hackers will like to explore what all are systems which has been exposed from your domain perspective, what all are loopholes, weaknesses which has been there, and this is how they will try to take the control of your any one of your systems which has been there in the environment. Once they take a control of your system, they will try to use some kind of a lateral movement within that particular environment. And this is how they will try to compromise your Active Directory and would like to do data breach kind of activity in your organization. Tenable plays a major role here, means we have our Active Directory identity security solution. It will help you to identify all such kind of lateral movements which has been happening there in the environment. Tenable is leader in vulnerability management kind of a solution, like more than 2 decades. So we understand all the vulnerabilities which has been there on the system. We understand all the misconfigurations which has been there on the system. And this is how we actually map all the data points and will help you to provide a complete attack path kind of a solution. We secure AD, so everybody wants to secure our Active Directory controls. So Tenable will help you to discover, identify all the, and provide you complete visibility from the AD perspective. It will help you to understand all the dangerous kind of a trust relationship which has been there on your domain. Use identity risk scoring to rank each identity by level of the risk in the environment. All the changes which is normally happen on the environment, like if we create some kind of a new user, if we create some kind of a new permissions, create some new security groups, so all such kind of a changes will get tracked in a real time. And this is how we help you to provide you a solution that whatever weaknesses which has been there on the Active Directory perspective, all the changes which will happen on your Active Directory, we capture each and every change in a real time and will provide you dashboard reporting within our solution. Tenable identity security provide you security and visibility of your complete environment. We support on-prem Active Directory as well as cloud Active Directory. So wherever you have a footprint, whether you have Active Directory configured within your premises, like an on-prem kind of a solution, if it is running there on the cloud, we support both the platforms, and then we help you to provide you complete visibility from the user perspective. So we'll help you to understand what all are the active users which has been there on the Active Directory. What all are the security groups which has been configured? What is the role permissions that user is having? Along with that, will help you to provide all the indicator of exposures which has been there on your system, indicator of attacks. So out of the box, we do have 160 plus kind of a templates available to identify all the indicator of exposure, indicator of attacks from the AD perspective. It will help you to identify all the risk parameter which has been there on the Active Directory, and using our ML technology, using our AI algorithm, it will tell you that what all are weaknesses which has been there. The good thing is about our solution is that we can deploy this solution within 5 minutes in any environment. So whether it is an on-prem AD or cloud AD, we can do the integration within 5 minutes. We don't require any agent to deploy on your Active Directory. So it will be like an agent-less kind of a deployment. We require read-only privileges to do the integration with your Active Directory. And if you have your Active Directory running there on the cloud, we just require API integration with your platform. So we have seen that it will not take more than 5 to 7 minutes to have an integration with your platform. And immediately we will help you to provide all the user information, what all are the active users which has been there on the system, all the security groups, all the service account information, and then we'll provide you all the indicator of exposures, indicator of attacks, which has been available in that particular environment. It's pretty easy from the configuration perspective, and it will give you continuous, real-time kind of a notification. Whatever changes which has been happening on the Active Directory, you will get it in a real time.
Hi, I'm Rohan, South SE for Tenable. So just to add to what Swapnil said, right? Indicators of exposures are basically misconfigurations which Tenable identifies in the AD environment, and then it will showcase as per the domain. The licensing, however, is based on the number of active users, but any misconfigurations, be it Kerberos failure or be it misconfiguration, excessive permission, dormant accounts. So there are hundreds of misconfigurations which Tenable identifies, and then it showcases in the indicators of exposure, which I'll be showcasing in the demo. Indicators of attack, what Swapnil mentioned, is Tenable proactively predicts that based on this particular misconfiguration, if there is a probable attack which is going to happen on your AD environment, right? So there is literally no other tool which gives you the complete posture of your Active Directory, right? So there is EDR, there is DLP, there are other tools in the market which protects your entities, users, and everything. But Tenable Active Directory security is one tool which tells you what is the complete posture, what is the configuration, where exactly you need to go ahead and mitigate or work upon based on the domains, based on the forests and everything, right? So that is indicators of attack and indicators of exposure. So we have 17 to 18 different types of attacks which is present in the IOA or the indicators of attack, right? So that's just a script which needs to be run on the domain controller. So that's the reason we say it is completely agentless. So we don't require any agent to be present on the entities, right? So it's just a PowerShell script which needs to be run on the DC to enable or for us to understand and predict the type of attacks, right? So attacks like DC Sync, DC Shadow, Golden Ticket, password spraying, these type of attacks, when happens on the AD environment, we'll not be able to see that in the audit logs as well, right? So in order to understand what exactly is happening, whether my AD is under attack or not, you require this IOA in order to tell you that there is a probable attack which is going to happen. So go ahead and mitigate. We also give the recommendations as to how do you go ahead and remediate that. So just to let you know that remediation is also in the roadmap. So probably at the right time, we'll be announcing that. So currently, as of today, we give the suggestions for the remediation as well. Thanks.
Perfect. So when we talk about attack path analysis, Tenable ID will help you to understand and provide you a detailed attack path analysis. It will help you to understand from the identity perspective, whatever permissions that we configured for one of the identity, and if we wish to understand what are attacks which has been associated from the identity perspective. Out of the box, we simulate such kind of an attack within our system, and you can able to run such kind of means you can run some kind of a simulation and you will come to know what all are attacks which has been associated from the passwords perspective, DC shadow kind of attack, and it will give you the detailed findings kind of information. When we need to remediate such kind of attack, what all are actions we need to take on the Active Directory perspective, how we can go ahead and do the remediation, what all are accounts or what all are services, where exactly we need to make the configuration so that such kind of an attack will not happen there in the environment, how the network identity access layout looks like, what all are accessible resource which has been available from the identity perspective. And you can create, means you can even run such kind of a simulation query within Tenable identity exposure. And in future, we are even going to provide remediations kind of a steps. It's like a auto remediation kind of a option, which will be available within Tenable AD. So we can, with the one single click, we can understand all such kind of findings and do a remediation from Tenable UI itself. Tenable Identity Security is one of our solution. Tenable is leader in vulnerability management kind of a solution more than 2 decades. Tenable invented the wheel from the vulnerability management perspective, and 23 years back, we launched this solution here in cybersecurity industry. So with that, we understand all the vulnerabilities which has been there and misconfigurations which has been there on the system. So if customer using Tenable to perform the assessment on all the endpoints and all the assets which has been there in the environment, we can able to identify all the vulnerabilities and misconfiguration information. We have multiple scanners, so we understand all the vulnerabilities which has been there on your application, on your API. We have a dedicated tool solution available which will get integrated with cloud security. We have dedicated identity security solution. So the whole idea is that means we understand all the weaknesses which has been there in your on-prem, remote, or if you have any footprint which has been running there on the cloud platform. We provide you complete 360-degree visibility that whatever assets which has been there in the environment. We will help you to understand all the critical vulnerability and weaknesses which has been there in the environment. Our attack surface management will help you to understand what all are assets exposed over the internet. Using Tenable Exposure AI layer will map all the data points and will help you to provide all the attack paths which has been available in the environment. So Tenable will provide you toxic combination. So for example, if you have any high or medium vulnerability or misconfiguration in your environment, which is running on one of the endpoint, if your asset is exposed over the internet on certain ports and services, and the user who is working on the system is having the high privileges. So we provide you all such kind of a toxic combination within our dashboard, and will tell you that how attacker can come inside, what all are the techniques hacker can use to execute a successful attack in the environment. So the whole solution is integrated with MITRE ATT and CK framework. will tell you which technique hacker will use to execute a successful attack in the environment, and whatever weaknesses that you have will even tell you what all our systems are under risk and where you need to focus immediately from the mitigation perspective.
So just to add what Swapnil said, right? So the diagram shown over here is our platform. So that's a flagship platform of Tenable called Tenable One. It's based on the data lake. It's built on the data lake platform. So these are our natively integrated solutions. So there is one single licensing called Tenable One licenses, and that's very flexible so that the customer just need to buy Tenable One licenses, and the licenses can be utilized or leveraged for any of these solutions as well, right? And along with the natively integrated solutions, we also can ingest third-party data into our platform because that's built on the data lake and we have the capability. Along with that, we provide the REST APIs as well to integrate with SIM solution or be ticketing tool or any other solutions for that matter, right? So yeah, that's all about it. And along with these solutions, there are 3 to 4 analytical tools like Lumen Exposure View, there is inventory, and there is attack path analysis, which comes along with these solutions. Basically, those analytical tools provides, or it basically is useful for the C-level executives in order to understand their whole vulnerability posture of the organization. Because if you see a C-level executive, he'll not see, he'll not ask, like, in which asset what vulnerability is there, right? So he'll just ask, send me the vulnerability report of my organization, right? So for that purposes, Lumen is exclusively built, and it gives you the top recommendations on these are the most exploitable CVEs which you need to go ahead and mitigate. If that is done, then thousands of assets will be mitigated and your vulnerability posture is secure, right? So that's the whole idea behind designing or the leverage of the analytical tools like the attack path analysis, exposure view, which is present or which you see on the screen over there, right? So, yeah, over to you.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. And using our cyber asset management, as Rohan has already spoke about, that we provide you Lumen Exposure View. With that Lumen Exposure View, we provide you a number. What is the cyber exposure score for your organization? So that number is scaled on a range of 1 to 1,000. So it will give us a very simple understanding. If the cyber exposure score for your organization, if it is like closer to 1,000, it means you have a bad security posture. And if it is closer to 1, you have a good security posture. So this cyber exposure score itself will help us to understand that as on yesterday, if our organization score was like 450, and just imagine if someone has performed vulnerability assessment, discovered some new vulnerabilities or misconfiguration, probably someone had changed some, means one of the user make some kind of a changes on Active Directory configuration. If there is any change happened from network security side, and all of a sudden the whole network is now accessible over the internet. So we capture each and every change in a real time, and it will help you to provide cyber exposure score. So whenever there is any change which will happen there in the score, will help you to understand what parameters which has been got changed from configuration perspective, where we have detected or discovered a new violation from VM perspective, or from application perspective, cloud configuration perspective, attack surface management perspective and all. So we do all such kind of a configuration in a real time. When we talk about Active Directory misconfigurations, so what all are the key drivers for us to drive the compliance portion? So recently, there is a new compliance norm which has been launched there in Australia. So Australia, as per Australia Defense, Australia Cyber Government, then United States Cyber Security, then CISA, NSA, Canadian government. So they release some, so they come up with some compliance template saying that Active Directory configuration is important and it's a part of your cybersecurity journey. So there is a information available on the internet. So this five country has already come up with cybersecurity guideline that you must comply or configure your Active Directory securely. Yeah. So operationalize identity exposure. So there are 4 levels. What Tenable Identity Security will do will provide you solution from all the 4 levels. With level 0, will give you complete visibility, will give you the security posture of your organization, will help you to understand all the configuration which has been there on the Active Directory, how secure are those configuration, what is the hygiene part of how it looks like from the Active Directory perspective, will give you all the misconfiguration information. We support on-prem and intra-AD Active Directory, so both the identity will support, will give you attack surface of your Active Directory, will give you attack path analysis. So this is something like a level 0. Most of the other tools also can help you and provide a solution on level 0 and level 1 perspective. On level 1 perspective, will help you to understand all the drip configuration which is normally happen on the Active Directory side, will monitor all the changes in a real time. We can do the integration with SIM platform, ticketing system, or any other tools which has been deployed there in the environment. This is what most of the solution will help you and provide the solution from the L0 and L1 perspective. Tenable will go one step ahead and will provide you remediation solution, a detailed findings, which has how to go step-by-step remediation for all the attacks which has been discovered. We are going to come up with the auto remediation kind of a solution in next 2 to 3 months kind of a timeline. So that solution will be available shortly. Will provide you the contextual information. So this is what I told you, right? We understand all the vulnerabilities, misconfiguration, assets which has been exposed over the internet, and all such kind of a combination we provide you from the attack path analysis perspective, will give you the complete holistic view of your network, of your organization attack path, and will give you the risk scoring and will give you the risk scoring and give you the combination of identity and vulnerability management. So how the security posture looks like from identity and vulnerability management perspective. Sorry. So when we talk about contextual information, this is one of the slide. Like I have one of the Windows laptop having some kind of a CVE. This is a critical CVE which has been running on the system. When we check with the Active Directory, the user who is working on the system is having a standard user kind of a permission. So obviously the decision will be there is a no big deal and we can patch this vulnerability as per our normal security cycle. At the same time, the contextual based information will come to know the same system is connecting towards the AWS cloud and the user is administrator for cloud account. This is how Tenable will help you to provide context across the cloud, IT, identity, application, and everything.
Yeah. And just to add to what Swapnil said, right? So we not only depend on the CV and the CVSS score, so we have something called VPR, AES, and CES, right? So that those all are proprietary scoring systems. So VPR is vulnerability priority rating, right? So for an identity or an asset, if there are 1,000 found vulnerabilities, so how do you prioritize or how do you identify which is the most exploitable, right? So think like an attacker, right? So we think from the attacker perspective that which is the most susceptible route to get inside, whether it might be through the identity, through the asset, through the excessive permission he has, or through any other means, right? So, or if there is a misconfiguration at the cloud level as well, because we have cloud security, that is the cloud identity entitlement, it is cloud native workloads, CSPM, and we have DSPM as well in the cloud, right? So we have so many offerings from the cloud security, from the identity and the attack surface management, which basically understands, right? So which are the assets which are exposed to the internet. So combining all these, we build a complete context and we correlate that particular identity and the assets which are associated with that particular identity and analyze what are the weaknesses present. So with that, we'll be able to let you know, or the tool will tell you these are the top most exploitable vulnerabilities which you need to go ahead and patch or which needs concentration on, right? So along with that, we also give what is the asset criticality rating as well, right? So same applies to the asset as well, right? So if softwares are not updated to the latest version, or if there is some honeypot, or if there is some executable present, if a user would have clicked on some link or beat anything, right? So Tenable does the job for you, which basically saves the amount of time for the analyst from hours to minutes. Right? So that's where, and basically we think from the attacker's shoes. We stand in his shoes and try to see which is the most easiest route to get inside. So that's where we bring in so much of contextualization to the customers.
Perfect. So we'll provide you complete 360-degree view. This is what Rohan just now spoke about, that we provide you ACR, asset criticality rating, from the identity perspective. We'll help you to provide asset exposure score.
So if you have to go and search what are the top vulnerabilities or exploits, that is one route, right? So the other route, because it is identity security, so we also give a perspective of the identities as well. So you can search which is the identity, and Tenable prioritizes that identity which has the most exploitable or the critical weaknesses, right? So it might be, we support Entra ID and we support the on-premises Active Directory both. So it lets you know where is the user, to which domain he's connected to which domain he belongs to, what is the weaknesses, what is that report, and if you go to the details, it gives you the complete history or complete details of that particular identity, right? So there is multiple perspectives, not only from the vulnerability perspective, but from the identity perspective also. So, you know, we are not just a vulnerability management, we are an exposure management company, right? So we let the customers know where are the exposure present from all the domains or from all the vectors. So that's where it becomes very critical, and that's why we stand in the top. Yeah. I think we can
Yeah, perfect. Over the next slide. So we understand all the ML and AI scoring perspective. This is how the attack path looks like within our environment. So when we talk about, like, we are understanding all the vulnerabilities, misconfiguration, identity weaknesses, we give you a detailed attack path, how the attacker can come inside, what all are the ways which has been available from the hacker perspective, how hacker can go, means hacker can come inside, how hacker can execute a successful attack in the environment. I'll just showcase you one live example how it looks like. So I'm just logging in, just a minute. I'm just logging into the system. So when we, I don't know what's wrong.
Just click on that link now. Anyway, you block
You just need to click on the second link. Yeah. Just except from here. No. Just go back here. It's not coming here.
Where is the PPT?
नीचे जाओ. Sorry. Uh, yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Sorry. It's not coming here. So when we click on, like I'm just giving you live example how the correlation looks like, how we provide you contextual based kind of information within Tenable database, how the identity matter most from that perspective. So if you look at here, the combination what we have, okay? So we have devices with weaknesses, has exploits on the asset, with the relationship with the account, and relationship with the groups has AD object SID. So when we run such kind of a query, so by default we have 25 plus kind of queries which has been configured or pre-built, or I can say available as a playbook within our solution. So you can run such kind of a query, and it will help us to understand what is the device, what is the identity that having, what all are the access, or what is the exposure score, what is the weaknesses, what all are the critical, high, medium, low kind of weaknesses which has been there, what all are the choke points which has been available for this identity, is there any attack path which has been available, and then if I click there on the attack path, it will even help us to understand what all are the attack path which has been available. So, yeah, you can click any one of the attack path. Yeah. So you can you just do some zoom in? Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. So if you check here, I have one of the asset which has been exposed over the internet. So hacker can, and the asset is accessible over the RDP connection, 3389. So hacker can use RDP, hacker can use the external remote service kind of attack on one of these assets. So this is what is the asset. You can see here, this is the external remote services which has been there on the, means this is how it has been accessible. Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, we show what is the exposed asset, what is the critical asset, right? So exposed asset is the one which is exposed to the internet. There has been an exploitation of RDP via port number 3389. So the whole or the end motive of any adversary or attacker is to get the access of admin credential or a user to get him compromised, right? So that is the whole the attack path what we show. So from the exposed asset to the critical asset, right? So Kenneth, what you see here, he is a critical asset because he is the admin, right? So the adversary wanted to get the credentials of the admin, so he used this route to get to that particular admin, right? So, and he is a critical asset. Through what? Whether it might be through the exploitation of RDP, excessive permission, or through some service or port open, be it anything. And if you do not know how do you have to remediate or what exactly that particular IP address, if there is no host name, you can click on that AI assistant and then you can get the details. And the funny or the best part is you can get it in your own regional language as well. It might be Hindi, it might be Kannada, it might be Telugu, Tamil, Marathi, Odia, anything. So you get it in your own regional language as well. So it will also, the Tenable tool with the help of AI, it will also tell you what are the steps to remediate as well. And it will also tell you that if you don't know that particular IP address, you can say, what is this IP? It will give you that details as well, right? So you do not have to bog your head to understand or to see in other tools inside as to what this particular IP is all about. And if you don't understand this whole path, there is the steps also written here, right? So that particular IP compromises this admin from that admin, it goes to the domain, so everything, right? So it's pretty clear, and it's like self-understandable. See, like reply in Hindi, it comes, right? So it's a demo environment, yeah. So
Perfect.
you can get it in your any regional language as well. That's the best part.
So you will see all the remediation activity step by step. So this is something I have just shown you, one of the example, how it can respond back to you in our local language, like a Hindi, Marathi, or any language that you can put it here. But whenever we found any kind of an attack path analysis, it will give you detailed information about the vulnerability, about the exposure, how do we need to take a remediation action step by step. Like step number 1, we might need to do stop the RDP access, then we need to stop or mitigate some weaknesses which has been there on the asset. Step 3, we need to go ahead and mitigate one of the patch, or we need to stop some services. So it will give us detailed information, whatever the weaknesses which has been there within your environment.
And just to add, like I'll finish, like, so it gives the whole context of whether that particular IP address is part of which domain through the Active Directory security. If he has some permissions in cloud, it will let you know from the cloud security that this particular XYZ user has this kind of permissions on cloud and web applications, in case if there are any misconfigurations or is there any OS stopped, and that gives you that visibility as well. And what is the CVE which was exploited. And if there is an OT device or an OT machine like PLC, SCADA, or any device, it will also give you that context whether that particular user has access to any of your OT device as well. So basically it gives the context across all these solutions, right? So you need not have to have multiple solutions to get this picture, but Tenable one or this one particular solution gives you the visibility across these 4-5 solutions with easy and flexible licensing. That's the best part about the Tenable One platform. It's basically a platform. It's not a single product. So that's the reason we are able to correlate and contextualize and provide through these analytical tools of attack path analysis, Lumen and Lumen exposure, and the assets or the inventory what we showed.
Yeah. So going back to my presentation, so now I don't have much of slide here. So Tenable One solution for multiple team members. So the first thing is that from the identity team, what all are things we'll get? So we will help you to secure your AD and Entra ID environment. It's an agentless deployment. Eliminate all the attack path. It will help you to provide all the password strength, and with VM and InfoSec team, it will help you to reduce all the vulnerabilities which has been there. It will help you to reduce to time to respond, attack path mapping, attack detection, prevention. For the IT team, it will help you to basically how to prioritize all the patches which has been there in the environment. And from the executive team perspective, it will help you to provide all compliance, regulatory reports, trending analysis, dashboard, and everything. So with this, I'll just take a pause here for a minute and would like to understand, do you have any question, any query so far, whatever we have presented? You can connect your laptop. So now Rohan will connect his system and he will help us to run through a live kind of a demo in terms of how the attack looks like. Means whenever we run through any kind of a script, so we have some script, but in a real situation, how attacker will try to figure out what weaknesses which has been there on the platform, there on the system. They will try to execute some kind of one of the exploit kit on your system, how they will try to get the control, how Tenable will help you to prevent all such kind of attacks, how do we detect it, and how Tenable dashboard looks like, and what all are the features which has been there. So we'll just quickly showcase it to you. I will do that. Yeah.
So this is the, no, I'll have to hover it, that's why. So, yeah. So this is the landing page of identity security. So as soon as you log in, you get the whole details as to what are the top misconfigurations or what are the top exploits present, how many domain controllers are there, what are the dormant accounts. So whole comprehensive report or whatever the admin needs to see, that is presented, and this is customizable as well. So you can add any widgets, and we also have predefined compliances present, or you can also upload your own audit or compliance policies and run against the entities to see to what level compliant it is, right? So I'll not go too deep into it. So this is the exposure overview. कितना टाइम लेता है ये? हाँ. अच्छा. Yeah. So this shows the top misconfiguration. So as it says, exposure overview, right? So these are the top weaknesses and what is the criticality and the number of assets affected with that, right? So all the details, so I'll not go into the complete details because we do not have so much time because I need to run the attacks and show, right? So tomorrow we have a booth. If any customer is interested, definitely we can showcase them. Right, so I'll straight jump into the indicators of exposure, which I was speaking initially. So this is the on-premises and the Entra ID. So we have different IOEs for both on-premises as well as the SaaS. Right, so these are the misconfigurations through which, if exploited, there will be a probable attack. That is showcased in the IOA or the indicators of attack, right? So these are some of the indicators of exposure. You might see, weak cryptography, or it might be GPO or a clear text password, dangerous settings, excessive logon restrictions for privileged users, and all those, right? So if I have to, and this is a dynamic one, it keeps on getting updated as we find. So there is a baseline or there is a benchmark against which we run few scripts in the background, we understand, and there will be API calling which happens to the Active Directory. If there is any regression from the baseline, we identify or we categorize that as a misconfiguration, and then it is tested in the environments, and then it is put it. So then it is put, right? So there is no question of false positives as such because it is completely in the real time and it's just the misconfigurations. The tool also studies as per the customer's environment as to how things are configured because there is a standard or a global baseline what we have against which it will be tested. Hey, where is that? वो दिखा रहा है क्या? अच्छा ठीक है. Okay. So these are the indicators of attack, right? So these are the top 17 attacks, which some of these would not be visible in the audit logs as well, right? So it might be DC shadow, DC sync, golden ticket, and NTDS extraction, right? So the adversary just copies the whole configuration of the Active Directory and then on his multiple tools which are available, he'll be able to see each user's configuration as to how it is configured, where are the exploits, which are the most susceptible ones through which I can get into, right? So Active Directory security of Tenable is the only tool which lets you know that some of these attacks are probable in your environment, AD environment. And it also tells you what are the top attacks. So these attacks are populated here because we'll be running a live attack, right? So this is the attacker VM. Attacker VM is basically a compromised machine. And yeah, so there is a DC also, which is configured. So 10.200 is the DC machine and 52 is the attacker VM through which we'll be running an attack on the DC. We have enabled the Active Directory services on 10.200 and this is the domain, right? So India sale.dc, right? So we'll be running the live attack. So it's a PowerShell through the Mimikatz. We'll be running the live attack. Yeah, so there is a live attack which I run just now, and then that will be visible in the indicators of attack in 30 to 40 seconds. Yeah, it just requires like 25 to 30 seconds for it to get updated. Yeah, so DC Shadow was the attack which I run just now. So if you go to the details, it shows there is MITRE attack. Also, we let you know at what stage of the cyber kill chain, what is that particular incident all about. And yeah, so see, there was an attack which was run on this particular domain as well, right? So if you go to the latest, yeah, I think, yeah, sorry, that's the one. Yeah, so it's that real time, right? So it just takes 25 to 30 seconds for the attack to be showcased on our tool, right? So
it can give you all the, just a minute. So on the same on the same attack, so just scroll it down. Just click on that details part. Yeah, just little go up. So here it will help us to understand what is the description of this particular attack in detail. So if you compare with any other technology, nobody will help you to provide you such kind of a detailed information that will tell you the complete CN name, will help you to understand how this execution happened. The whole solution is integrated with MITRE ATT and CK framework. So we'll even provide you what is the MITRE ATT and CK ID or technique that has been executed for this particular attack. And if we come down, it will give us this detailed information and all the other attacks which has been happened there on the environment, and we will collect this information in a real time. So whenever such kind of a bad activity which will happen there in the environment, within 20 to 30 seconds, we will provide you this information available right here on the dashboard. So you are getting this information in a real time. We can configure email alerts. We can integrate this solution with the SIM platform, SOAR platform. And if customer is using Tenable Exposure Management as a solution, the cyber exposure score will get changed immediately. So this is how we will provide you all the notifications in a real time.
and I just run a golden ticket attack via Mimikatz itself. So we'll see whether Tenable has detected that in the IOA. Where is it?
Yeah, it will take at least 30 seconds. So I'm sure it will get reflect here now. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
No.
I think that's it. Only a couple of attacks. Yeah, done.
Just refresh it. It will get reflect. No issue. You can see the timestamp. Yeah.
Yeah. So it comes under DC Shadow.
Yeah. So the second attack also which we have run here, you can see the timestamp here, right hand side on the red color. So just within 5 minutes of the time that we run one more attack, you can see the red graph there. This is how we have detected this attack in the environment. And if I click there, again you will get the detailed findings kind of information for each and every attack which will happen there on the environment.
That's it.
Anything else you want to show this? Just go to the topology.
Here it is not there. We'll go to this one.
Just go to topology. Yeah. One more good feature of our product is that all the identities, when they are talking to each other, we understand all the communication, and this is how we lay out a network topology map automatically for that particular organization. So once we do this integration, we'll provide you all the information right here on the dashboard, that which identity talking to which system, how the network map looks like, what are the connection, means how many times that connection happened, and we can run a query. Means if we want to understand a blast radius, like one of my crown jewel kind of a system, what all are weaknesses I have for that particular system. Who all are the users within my environment are having access to reach out to this particular system. So I can create such kind of a policies or such kind of a query. I can run this query in a real time, and we can give you a detailed network topology map if they are accessible, how they are accessible within your network, what all are access they have, what all are port services which has been accessible, and all such kind of a detailed information we will give it to you. So can you just click on the blast radius? So this is what is the techniques that we have. As I told you, we can perform a simulation within identity security. So we will tell you what all are the attack path which has been there. We will tell you all the blast radius kind of a system. So if I have one of the critical system, like one of the web server, database server, or any other critical system which has been there in the environment, how that system is connected over the network, what all our user is accessing that particular system, what all are resources which has been accessible. Detailed information we can provide you using our AD simulation. Do you know how to run that? And just, it's okay. Fine, just come there on the dashboard. Just talk about the user access permissions. Do you have that? Yeah, just open any one of them. Just a minute. So whenever once we do the integration of any identity, with your Active Directory system, we will tell you that what all our system, what all our identities which has been there on the environment, whether it is on-prem or intra-AD. We tell you how the asset exposure score looks like for an identity perspective. So as I told you, like we provide you this score on a scale of 1 to 1000. The score is closer to 1000. We have bad security posture. Then we'll tell you all the VPR scoring and a detailed information about the asset. So you can see we have 51 kind of a parameters. Can you just highlight that 51? Just highlight that number. So here you can see here the asset information. We have 50 plus kind of a parameters available from the asset perspective. So what is the asset name? What is the IP address, IPv6 address? What all are resources which has been accessible? Asset is a part of which particular domain? What all are the asset tags which has been configured? When it has been last updated? When there was some changes happened last time? So all such kind of a detailed information we will give it to you from the identity perspective.
And along with that, right, so we get to know what are the accounts he carries and what are the devices or the assets tagged to that particular identity. And we also get the vulnerability information through the Tenable Vulnerability Management or our on-premises solution called Tenable SE, which also can be integrated with our Tenable One platform, right? So, see.
So here you can see one of the identity is a part of what are the accounts within this particular demo environment.
See, and it shows the weakness as well and the severity of that particular weakness, how many critical, how many high, and all those things, and the devices which are tagged to him, and if there are any probable attacks for that particular identity, right? So in case if there are any, that one, and the weaknesses and the entitlements he carries, right? So those all things. So this one particular dashboard will show you a holistic picture of that complete, that identity, right? So each and every detail is present, right? So if you go to the misconfiguration, right? So he says what account he carries and see, these are the weaknesses, right? So
you can see here all the big weaknesses, whether it is a critical, high, medium, low, all the whether it is a misconfiguration, vulnerability, all detailed information will give. And if you even would like, if someone would like to understand in detail of whatever the weaknesses of this particular misconfiguration. If you can click on see details, again you will see all the 50 parameters which has been available for that particular configuration. Yeah. Yeah, it's connecting. It's okay. I mean, it will give you that information. Okay. So this is where we will. I'll just like to take a pause here and would like to understand. Do you have any question, any query so far on this? So it's a Q&A session now. Means we almost done with our presentation. So if you have any question, you can raise your hand. We can have a discussion with you.
Yeah. And last thing. So before we conclude this, right? So this is called trial flow, right? So you can think this as what is that?
Real time.
Yeah.
It's a real time loss.
So it's like sniffer or yeah. In real time we analyze or we let you know what are the changes happening, right? So with respect to any object inside AD, it will be reflected real time here.
So basically any changes which will normally happen on the AD, whether someone create new user, delete any user, create any permission, whatever configuration which will happen there on the Active Directory, it will create or generate a syslog.
It's like the Wireshark. Yeah, you can think this as the Wireshark of
absolutely.
AD.
Yeah. All right, so I believe someone is having question here. He will give the mic.
Yeah. So solutions like SailPoint, which is for identity and access management, those also have identity risk score, right? And that's a combination of how crucial entitlements they are carrying. So the identity risk score, which you guys are talking about here in tenant identity exposure, is it also a combination of what all accesses it contain, or it is more than that?
Yeah. So we provide you access information, policy information. Along with that, Tenable exposure management platform. So not only means we'll understand the identity configuration, what all are the permissions that identity is having, how secure is that identity, map all the VM data, vulnerability management data. We have external attack surface management, so we come to know whether asset is exposed over the internet or not. If it is exposed on what all are the port services. And this is how, means using our VM solution, we have some features called VPR. So if you have 100 vulnerabilities which has been there on the asset, and if the asset is exposed on certain port number, so we understand whatever the 4 or 5 port services which has been accessible over the internet, how many vulnerabilities are exposed over the internet for that asset. Is there any exploit kit which has been available for those vulnerability? Is there any hacker community who is focusing on those vulnerability? What is the success ratio from the hacker community? And this is how we provide you attack path analysis information. And then we'll tell you that how hacker will come inside, which technique hacker will use to execute a successful attack in the environment, because we understand the weaknesses, we understand your asset is exposed over the internet, and then we know that there are some weaknesses from the misconfiguration perspective. Then there are some identity issues which has been there, and this is how hacker will execute a successful attack. So it's like a complete detailed attack path analysis what we provide. So comparing with any other solution, they are strong in terms of helping you understand the identity configuration policies and all. We are going one step ahead and telling you how the configuration looks like and how the attacker will come inside in the environment, using which technique, how they will do the execution, and what all our systems will be under risk, under attack for your organization.
Just to summarize, right? So those are identity providers basically, which helps you with onboarding, offboarding, if there is joiners, movers, leavers, and everything, right? So it might be ping identity, one login, be it anything. Those tools will give you what identities, like what is the permissions, entitlements it carries, I agree. But it doesn't give you the perspective or the configuration picture of the Active Directory, right? So there has to be a correlation with the Active Directory. This is pure Active Directory security, but because he is part of that domain or forest, and we also understand what is the entitlements or the vulnerabilities present, we give you the picture from the Active Directory perspective. Whereas those tools doesn't give you the perspective of what is not configured properly in the Active Directory. So that's in a nutshell the difference between those. But however, with respect to Tenable One, we can integrate those solutions as well. With coming to the cloud security, we can integrate, or the customers can leverage the integration of those IDPs to our cloud security through the Tenable One platform, because we have the REST APIs available with each and every of our siloed solution along with the Tenable One as well.
Okay, so this could be integrated with identity governance and access
Yes.
management tool as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect.
Can do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
My question is related to the example that you showed where an attacker is trying to access 3389 particular identity, right?
Right.
How do you create that attack path? Do you require integration with any network component, network tool to create that attack path? And the network path that you showed in the recent example where you have identities and you've created the entire network map. How do you
Sure.
get that information?
So whenever we perform vulnerability assessment, we understand all the port services which has been there on the system. Using external attacks surface management will help. We come to know that your asset is exposed over the internet. What all are the port services? So when we presented attack path analysis, we perform in and out and in kind of assessment for your organization, and this is how we understand what all are the vulnerabilities which has been exposed, accessible over the internet. Based on that, so this is this is one of the identification. At the same time, we understand the user who is running on the system, working on the system, what all are the identity configuration we have on the Active Directory perspective. So we map this information, and based on that, we provide you attack path analysis. And when we provide you attack path analysis, we have all the evidences. So whenever that attack path analysis, you can do the visualization. We tell you the remediation steps. So first we give you evidences also. This is what is the evidences available, that using external attack surface management, your system is exposed over the internet on so and so port services. When we perform an internal scan, these all are the vulnerabilities which has been present. This is the weaknesses which has been there from the misconfiguration perspective. And that's the reason hacker will use so and so technique to execute a successful attack. So this is what is the combination that we are giving it to you, along with all the evidences. At the same time, we'll give you all the remediation option step by step, so that you can go ahead and do the remediation within your environment.
Yeah. To answer that in short, right? So we require identity exposure, so that contributes 60% to the attack path analysis. However, we require vulnerability management solution as well to give you that vulnerability perspective. And if you require web application, or if you have OT plans or manufacturing, whatever it is, so that requires that particular security solution to be present in order for us to understand and correlate and build that attack path. That is the short answer for you.
So it's a suite basically
Yeah.
of the. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
One more question related to the AI assistant that you showed, multiple languages and all. Is it a trained model with specific outputs related to the remediations that we drive? And it is trained to Tenable One, okay, all the attack paths that you have already predefined. What if there is a 0-day kind of a situation wherein something that's not already identified? So will the AI assistant be able to help us understand as to what the remediation steps would be?
Absolutely, we do that. So we have this AI feature, means we are working on this since from last 4 years. We also powered by Google Secure LLM. So we powered by Google Secure LLM. At the same time, we have our own research team. So when we especially talk about 0-day, Tenable is one of the founder. So we invented the wheel from the vulnerability management perspective. We have our research team who is working 24/7. So when there is any new vulnerability, especially from the 0-day perspective, we even before any CVE will get released for that vulnerability, we still have some ML kind of our algorithm to discover, detect that vulnerability under 0-day, and will provide you possible whatever the remediation actions which has been available for that vulnerability. And whenever there is a proper CVE number will get released, so we even give you the detailed information if in case we need to deploy any patch for that particular CVE.
To answer that again, in short, it's a continuous monitoring thing. So there are multiple sensors like which needs to be deployed, or without that also, we are not an ad hoc this thing. So there is continuous scanning and continuous check of the configurations of the vulnerabilities which happens in the backend. Through that, we analyze, predict with the trained models, with the real-time telemetry data. So we combine everything so that there is no probable, or we let you know that there is a probable kind of 0-day or any kind of attack which is going to happen on your environment. So we are a completely proactive tool in that. Any other doubts or?
For giving us such an insightful session. So while we talked about the policies and other things like identity and access management, so can we do a compliance management also with our tool? Like, what all policies the organization follows. So whether those policies are being followed, inside the complete organization. So how do we track these kind of things, from our tool? Or is there anything, any other capabilities that we have within our tool which can help us performing assessments, risk assessments or risk audits kind of a thing?
So we already have compliance template available within our solution. So we do performance, we do have template available from all the multiple solution perspective. So for VM, we have a dedicated compliance template. Again, we can go ahead and customize those compliance templates as per your need and requirement. So we will do all the customization as per means whatever the need that you have. And based on that, we can run such kind of assessment and give you a detailed report on this. And whatever violations that we discover, we map that violation towards the attack path. So if we discover any violation, we will give more weightage to the attack path analysis, and this is how within attack path analysis will help you to give you some severity, what all are the critical, high, medium attack path looks like for your organization, whatever the data that we gather, whether it is a VM data, whether it is a configuration compliance data, if the asset is exposed over the internet, and so on and so forth.
We have predefined templates as well as it is customizable so that you can upload your own audit and compliance policies and run it against your devices to check the percentage of compliance and non-compliance as well. So
Yes, understood. Thank you.
Any other doubts or?
Let's say your system has identified some misconfigurations, right? Will it actually show me that, yeah, this particular misconfiguration is a non-compliant to your policy or a certain standard? Because in your IOE, it was just showing that, yeah, these are all the misconfigurations that it has identified, right? But it can also show me that insight as well?
Absolutely.
Yes.
We do that.
Okay.
And
Two ways, right? In the vulnerabilities also it shows, or if you go to the compliance report, there also it shows whether it is a part of the compliance or non-compliance, and it also gives you the suggestions as well.
How does it handle the Active Directory forest level trust relationships? So from which forest will generate the events and from where it will be logged and come into the system, the platform?
It's a great question. So multiple domains which has been configured. We can generate whenever we are looking at the log dashboard reports, there is an option whether you would like to see all the reports, dashboard logs from the forest perspective or one of the domain perspective. And this is how you can even customize certain dashboards within our platform. So if you have multiple domains, you can create multiple dashboard from the domain perspective. You can set the alerting system, configure the email alerting so that you will even get all such information directly on an email, or you can auto-generate a report. This is how you will get the data automatically on an email.
We basically connect to the primary domain controller and we leverage the emulation services. There is a service account which needs to be created with no root privileges required because we do not change anything proactively. We identify, we analyze, we let you know what is the misconfiguration. So as we connect to the PDCE, we understand each and every flow, each and every change which is happening. So you can pick and choose as to which domain which needs to be monitored by Tenable Active Directory. If there is a whole AD environment and it has 5 domains, for example, you can choose only 3 domains needs to be monitored from Tenable. If you choose the whole, that's yes. I mean, that's left to the customer, right? So depending on that, we connect to the PDCA and then we leverage the emulation services. So that's how we understand that this particular user is a part of this domain, this forest, and this is the change which has been done.
How it does the detection, whether it goes into the event logs generated by the OS. So for Active Directory, so Windows OS, so whether you work on the events that is being generated, based on that you do the analysis and then you give the understanding or how it is.
So detection means from the
Detection
vulnerability.
means so you ran mimicards, right?
Yeah,
So based on that, it would have generated some security events, right? So based on that, you were able to identify, right?
So we need to all the syslog from your Active Directory towards Tenable server. So whatever activity which has been happening there on the Active Directory, will understand each and every change, each and every config change, and all the activities which has been happening on the system, and this is how it will generate a log. So this is what is the configuration of the AD setup itself. Any change, any config change or policy change, it will trigger a syslog, and we take a feed of that syslog. This is how we do the detection of all the changes, whatever changes which has been happened from the Active Directory perspective.
And what if someone plays with the syslogs? Then
If someone plays with the
let's
syslog,
suppose if I'm an attacker, I know you have the organization has implemented this solution. So if someone identifies way to play with the syslogs, then how will be the detection part?
so first of all,
Or someone plays with the security logs, they can clear if they are clearing the logs or they are delaying some or the other way.
right. So if the means we understand all the changes through syslog. So this is what is our minimum requirement, that syslog should be forwarded to the Active Directory. If someone plays or someone stop the service, someone simply remove it, will not able to receive any communication from the Active Directory and will not be able to monitor it. And whenever that communication will get break, we will alert you back saying that we are unable to receiving any syslog from Active Directory. From, like, we can define that timestamp, like if the more than 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour, 30 minutes, whatever it is. If we are unable to get the logs, we will raise that particular alarm and will send out a notification. But this is what is the default requirement for us to get the syslog from Active Directory.
Closing statement. As Tenable, we don't sell any product or solution. We sell experience.